everybody. Welcome to my midday recipe cooking class. You'll have to excuse me a second, I'm going to get your comments up here. So basically you guys can ask me questions as we cook along, but because I can't see what you're writing on my phone over there, I have to have it on my computer here. So there might be like a little bit of a lag, but I will see your questions nonetheless. And what I'm going to do is, so every day, because I think we all need like a bit of distraction, something fun, something engaging. We want to learn like a new skill maybe. You want to just kind of like be a better home cook, which is great. Like that is like such an amazing thing to want to do. But quite often like we feel like we don't have enough time to do that. And of course, some of you will have more time on your hands at the moment. So, you know, it's a really, really good, productive way to spend your time. And also, we're going to make this a bit fun, occasionally a bit silly. I might occasionally appear in my dressing gown or my gym gear. Okay, so I've got this up now. So I was just turn the sound off, and you guys should be able to ask me questions there. So if anybody wants to just give it a try, then I should be able to read your question back to you, or you can just say hi. You can just say hi. Say hi. Yes, so every day, midday, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be teaching you, not necessarily like a whole recipe, it might be like an element of a recipe. I've already got loads in mind that I want to teach you, but really, I can see that Brian's here, so we know that this is working, which is great. That's a really, really good start. Yeah, so I'm going to teach you recipes, but also like bits of recipes and techniques, and just like how to, basically I'm trying to get the knowledge that I have in my brain about how to cook into your brain, and the best way that I know how. So if I just teach you guys a recipe, then I'm only going to teach you one recipe. If I can get you to think like me about food, then I can make you all exceptional cooks and chefs. So, Carly, hello. Right, okay, so what we're going to be making today is a one-pot dish. And rather than give you a precise recipe for a one-pot dish, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what the blueprint is of a one-pot dish, because this is something that you can make at home pretty much no matter what you've got in the cupboards. And I think at the moment, we're all going to have to reach into the back of our cupboards and get out those, like, you know, the unusual grains that we once bought and we thought that we were going to use and we never did. We might get stuck for the right veggies. You know, we might not be able to find the veggies that we really like at the supermarket, so we might have to cook with different ones than we're used to. You know, so this is a really, really good thing to learn, so you can just be a bit more flexible in the way that you cook. Okay, so I always start my one-pot dishes off by looking at the veg that I've got to use. So I would say that pretty much any veg, apart from salad veg, you can use in a one-pot dish. Hello, Danielle. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, pretty much like most veg you can use in a one-pot dish. The only things that you can't is, as I said, salad veg, so things like cucumber. I mean, I could be wrong, you know, maybe one day I'll experiment with that. You know, but yeah, at the moment, no cucumber in the one-pot dishes, thank you very much. So we're going to start our one-pot dish off today, and literally we are just going to put it into a pot. There is not going to be any frying of, you know, onions and celery or anything like that. We're literally just going to pop it into the pot, and yeah, it's going to be super, super, super easy. So I'm going to use some butternut squash. I wanted to use this and mention this to you guys today because butternut squash will keep for a really long time if it's not cut in two. So now, someone sent me some love. That's nice. Oh, Bridget. It's really nice you could join us. Yeah, the thing is with butternut squash is that as long as you don't cut into it, it will last for a really long time outside of the fridge. So, you know, if you're worried that you're not going to be able to get to the shops very often, you know, or they're not going to have what you want, then just get a few butternut squashes or any type of squash or pumpkin or anything like that, and they can just sit in your cupboard. So they won't be taking up any fridge space. So we're going to be using this today. And with butternut squash, you have to be careful, well, just a little bit careful with this juice that comes out of it, because it can make your hands like go a little bit kind of like tacky and orangey. Yeah. Oh, hello. Someone said hello to me. So I'm just gonna chop the skin off. Don't bother doing it with a peeler, because it can be quite thick, and it's quite easy for me to do because, you know, it's just this nice like cylindrical shape. And that's one good thing actually with butternut squash, if you go and like pick your own, is that you can pick one that's a bit more easier to peel, which will help you out. So the trick with one pot dishes with veg is working out how big you need to cut them, because we want all these veg to cook around the same time, and there are some veg that are going to cook quicker than others. So I've got my butternut squash here. I'm also going to be using carrot. It's a little bit hairy. Carrots have started to get a bit hairy, but they're okay to use still. So I know that carrots, they take quite a long time to cook, whereas butternut squash not so much. So what I'm going to do to balance these guys out is I'm going to do big chunks of the butternut squash and small pieces of the carrot. So whenever you're working with veg, you need to try and work on the flat as much as possible, because, you know, if you're cutting into something and it's like this, then what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen. And it's not good. So we like all your fingertips and we want them to stay intact. So I'm just going to do big chunky pieces of our butternut squash and just whack that into our pan. And so, as I said, with the carrot, we want to cut it into small pieces. So I'm just going to cut it into half and then quarter, and just really small little chunks. So that's going to go in. Ah, Gloria, hello, and Anthony, thank you for joining me. So just to recap, what we're doing today is I am teaching you guys how to cook a one-pot dish. So I'll show you the specific one-pot dish that I'm doing today, but I'm talking more about like the blueprint of it, because once you know what the rules are, Katie, oh, no, you haven't missed too much. And also remember, you can watch this on playback. So after we get to the end of this, I'll save it, and then it will be on our feed, and then you can just watch it back another time. So, yeah, I was just saying that I am making one specific one-pot dish, but I'm really just doing that so that I can show you like the blueprint of how I cook like this. So we're going to pop some onions in there. So one of the things that you have to remember with a one-pot dish is to put lots of flavour into it. It needs a lot of flavour in it, and one of the great ways of doing that is to add some onions to it. So the onions, they don't need to be fried at all. You really don't need to do that. We're just going to simply slice them, and that's it. Oh, Anthony, hello. It's lovely to see you. So I hope you're all doing okay out there. I know that these are like really strange times. But I hope you're getting lots of like cuddles in with your loved ones and, you know, that type of thing, which will help massively. And oh god, so the online communities have been amazing. All of the vegan food businesses have been getting together on a WhatsApp group and supporting each other. So that's been really awesome. And if any of you guys have vegan food businesses out there, do let me know and I'll pass you details of that. Because basically they're sharing information, because a lot of their information has been quite confusing, to be honest, and just support as well. So we just want to get the skins of these, and then we're just going to slice them. So we're not going to worry about finely chopping them or anything like that. You know, one of the ideas of this type of dish is to make food to be able to make food that is healthy, and quick and easy, you know, because we all have really, really busy lives, and people just don't want to spend much time cooking anymore. So we've got to make it as quick and easy and effortless as possible. So this is the type of dish that you can just set it and let it. So we pop everything into the pan, we add water, and then we just let it bubble away. So that means that if you come in after a long day of work and you're tired and, you know, the commute has been horrible and your boss has been horrible and, you know, it's been raining and blah, 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 you can literally just pop this into a pan. You can then just pop it onto, like, say, medium heat and go and have your shower and, you know, see your kids and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And you can still have a really nice, like, nutritious pot of food at the end of the day. Deborah, thank you for joining me. And Brian, I blinked. Did you use the whole butternut squash or just half? Okay, so I only used about like that much of it, which was probably about a fifth, because this was massive. This was really, really big. So I am making in this pot enough for 2 people. That is it, because we are 2. So I'm just going to make enough for 2 people, and that's it. And that will be, you know, about like that much of a pot. That's what I'm going for. But of course, like, you know, this is really rough. I am kind of going off recipe. What I can do afterwards is I can put in the comments, I can type out the recipe, but remember it's very loose, and that's kind of like the whole idea of this, is that it is loose, that it is going to enable you guys to put veggies in, you know, whichever veggies that you have in the cupboards. Okay, Corrado, thank you for joining me, one of my graduates. Okay, so I'm just going to pop some celery in here. You'll notice that I'm not washing it. We buy organic veg, so I feel I have like less reason to wash it. But also, you know, the other thing is that I think, you know, if there's anything like that you feel is like getting in your way of making food, you know, because it just seems a bit faffy, then you've got to kind of like weigh up the pros and cons. And I know that with like this end of the celery, there isn't really going to be any dirt or anything like that anyway, so I'm cool with that. I haven't told Jeff, don't tell Jeff. And then one other thing I wanted to mention to you guys is this. So one of my favourite vegetables. It isn't going to go into this dish today, but I wanted to mention it to you guys because this is a really, really, really sensible buy at the moment, because red cabbage will last for a really long time in your fridge and it goes really far. So when you shred it, you know, you can use it for salads, you can use it in wraps, you can use it in dishes like this. It goes a really, really long way, and it's really, really cheap. So if you're going to buy veggies at the moment, I suggest, you know, going for these 2. They'll last a long time and they'll keep really, really well. And also, to be honest, this gorgeous beauty is not, unfortunately, the thing that people are going for. So you're going to be more likely to find this on the shelves at the moment. Everyone goes for. Okay, so we've got our veggies, and I'm going to pop it in some chickpeas. So I, like most keen vegan cooks and chefs, have a load of chickpeas in my freezer. And why? Can you guess? That's right, because I've been using the aquafaba and not actually using the chickpeas that came with the aquafaba in the tin. So we're just going to pop some of those in here. And so I would say that, you know, this dish at the moment, because we've got the butternut squash in there, because we've got the chickpeas in there, what it's saying to me is Moroccan, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, that's how I always think of it. You know, what's it suggesting to me? Deborah, you've got both in your fridge. Good girl. Good girl. Let me know what you make with them. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is we need to choose our... oh, actually, sorry, just to say about the chickpeas. If you don't want to use something like chickpeas, you can also use things like yellow split peas, and also lentils. So, you know, not a bean per se, but what these are going to do is these will actually add more they have a thickening ability, basically. So, you know, you'll be adding in like great protein, like really, really great nutrition, plus they're cheap, plus they go really far. But also, once these get really broken down, then they can actually thicken it as well, which is really, really lovely, because when you're making a one-pot dish, of course, if there's a bit of juice there, then that can be nice, but if it is all going to be in one pot, you know, you're not going to have rice on the side or something to suck up the juice. It's quite nice if there's something that thickens it in there. So, lentils are lit. I'm not sure I can even get away with the word lit at the moment. I think I might be a bit too old for that. So you said that, not me. Bridget, did you say that you froze the leftover chickpeas? Okay, so with these chickpeas, these are left over from me using aquafaba. Because I use a lot of aquafaba in the cooking that I do. And so my freezer is at the moment full of chickpeas. So we're going to be eating chickpeas for some time now, which is fine, yeah, so I just like whack the chickpeas in the freezer once I'm done using all of the aquafaba. Okay, so we talked about these, and now the next thing that we want to put in is we want to put in some sort of grain, because we actually want the grain to be in it rather than on the side, because if it was on the side, then this would be a 2-pot dish, and we want to do a 1-pot dish. So we've got like a variety of different grains. You can pretty much use like most grains, really. So here we have some lovely quinoa. So this is just standard white quinoa from Hodmedod's. This is, see, I'm getting excited about this one. Sorry, excuse me. Smoked quinoa. It is so good, so good. And this is from the very, very lovely people at Hodmedod's. I'll put a link to their website in the comments afterwards. They do a delivery service. You know, you order online and you get sent their grains. They are inundated at the moment with orders, as you can imagine, but they are getting through them. So if you do want to get anything from them, just beware that, you know, your order will take, rather than like 2 days to be delivered, then it's more like 5 days. But they have a lot on there, and the smoked quinoa is one of my favourite products, so you could pop that in. We've also got some millet here. Millet is so underused. It can be grown in this country, and it's just really, really nutritious. Goes a really long way. We've got some buckwheat here, and this is actually the one that I'm going to use. Buckwheat is actually a complete protein as well, so extremely, extremely healthy. Here we've got just good old rice, just good old brown rice. So of course with the brown rice, if you're going to use brown, that is going to take longer than white rice, so you just have to bear that in mind. So with a dish like this, I'm going to keep it cooking for a while because I want those carrots to get soft, and I know that that's going to be, you know, roughly around the same time as letting this cook. Now if you're going to use white rice, then it means that the cooking time is going to be much less. So in that case, I probably wouldn't use the carrots, but everything else would go, but I would probably chop it up small, you know, into smaller pieces, so that then they're done around the same time. So that's our rice. Another type of rice, this is black rice, if you can see that there. Love, 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 love black rice. Black rice is the new brown rice. It is extremely, extremely healthy. I have made a risotto before, or a chilli, oh yes, that was it. I made a really, really lovely chilli with red cabbage in it, and it ends up looking this beautiful violet colour. Really, really, really stunning. The only thing with black rice is that quite a few of the black rices, they do take a long time to cook, so you're looking for around like 45 to 50 minutes, something like that. So you can choose from all of those different, loads of different cereals and grains, and decide to put those in. There's no right or wrong, really. You know, this is like one of those dishes where, you know, you can freestyle and you can literally use all those things. Hello, Queen and Tracy and Andrew. I haven't seen you for a long time. So you can basically like use a lot of those things that are just been in the back of your cupboard that you didn't know what to do with. You know, but you could make use of them now. Now is a really, really good time to do that. So that then we're using up the food that we actually have at home rather than going to, going out to the shops and buying stuff unnecessarily. So I'm just trying to hold that up so that you can see the quantities, because I am eyeballing this, which, is nicer than it sounds. And I put in that much buckwheat. I would probably say that is about half a cup, because that's going to swell up. That's really going to swell up and plump up. And so I guess like the difference with the grains is that some are going to get really plump and juicy, like the buckwheat will, and some are going to stay a bit more grainy. So say for example, like we've got red quinoa along here, and red quinoa is going to stay a bit more kind of like, it's going to have more bite to it. It's not going to soften up so much. So, you've got to figure out, like, what do you want this dish to be? Do you want it to be, like, nice and unctuous? Or do you want it to be a bit more kind of, like, separated? So we've got those in there. And then we're going to add some stock. So this is the powdered stock. Lara and Ingrid. Lovely to see you here. So we've got some stock. This is my favourite stock because it's really, really easy to use. I probably added around 1 to 2 teaspoons in there. As I said, I will put in the comments the very loose recipe for this dish. And for this dish, I thought kind of like, it's going to be like Moroccan. And so for that, I think, some tomatoes should go in there. So half a tin of tomatoes in there. And then I want something to make it taste a bit meaty, because what I've found is that with a lot of vegan and vegetarian food that is very vegetable based, it can be a bit on the sweet side, particularly when you give up refined sugar, like I did. So I'm going to add to this some yeast extract. So you might also know this as Marmite or Vegemite. But this is made by Meridian. So who are the people that make my beloved peanut butter? So we're going to stick a bit of that in, and that's going to give it a good saltiness. So you can wait till later to add more salt if you want to. So if you don't have some of this, like, there are other ingredients that have like similar qualities to it basically, which is kind of like this salty, kind of savoury meatiness. So one substitute is brown rice miso. That's a good one. And then there's this one, which is my favourite ingredient for 2020, which is fava bean umami paste. I really bang on about this a lot, but fava bean umami paste is literally just fermented fava beans. That's it. So as you know, fermented stuff is like good for your tummy, but also it's great for you because there isn't anything else in it. That's it. So we've got one of those in here just to make it a bit more savoury. And then of course we need our spices. So as I said earlier, we need to work on making this have like a lot of flavour because we're not frying, and quite often when you're frying onions and celery and stuff like that, that can impart a lot of flavour and a lot of different levels to your food. We're not going to have that so much. So we need to get flavour in another way. So we can add some spices, and like pretty much like most spices go. The only ones to be a bit careful with are these. So we've got nutmeg, allspice, cloves, we've got star anise, we've got turmeric, and we've got cardamom. So the reason why you have to be careful with these is because they are really, really strong. They really pack a punch. So if you add too much, then you're going to end up with your stew tasting like Christmas pudding or something like that, and it's just going to overtake all of the other flavours. So I'm not saying don't use them at all, but just use them judiciously. I had to really focus when I was saying that word. So just to recap, we've got star anise there, we've got ground cardamom, nutmeg, allspice, cloves and turmeric. So you just need less, just a pinch of those when you use them. Here we've got cinnamon, and I'm going to pop a load of that in there. I've got ginger, again a load of that in there. Going along with this theme of being a bit Moroccan-y, we've got some smoked paprika here. Love these little pots. So we can load that in. And I like my food to be very flavoursome, so I'm always very, very heavy-handed with the spices. And we've got more people joining. Amy, Robert, and Tanya. Thank you for joining me. And also, we're going to add some coriander seeds. So I'll pop some of those in there. And that was not a mistake. I did not have to grind them or anything like that beforehand because I want them whole. I want them whole. This is like one of the nicest things that I have found out about food in a long, long time, which is just putting coriander seeds in food that is going to be cooked for a while, so it's going to soften them up anyway, but it just means that there are these explosions of taste when you're eating it, and it is just amazing, absolutely amazing. And we're going to add some cumin to this. Love these bags from East End. They're great for people who use a lot of spice, and they're just cheaper. You know, they're just like, yeah, way more economical than the small pots. Okay, so we've got, I think, everything that we need in this pan. I'm just going to fill it with water, and then I'll show you how much water I put in it. Okay, so that's I'm going to get this everywhere, aren't I? That is how much. Let me see if I can see if you guys can see it. Yeah, you guys can see that. Brilliant. Okay, so basically my rule is fill it up until you cover the veg, and then plus about 1 centimetre, something like that. The only time when you'll really need to add more water, if you haven't quite added enough, is towards the end anyway. So you can pop this with a lid onto a medium heat and just let it bubble away, and here's one I made earlier, of course. And so this took probably about 35 to 40 minutes, and then I turned the heat off and I let it sit there, and it's really nice and kind of unctuous and like real like healthy comfort food. And one of the great things about this dish is that it makes you feel nice inside. So because it's wet and warm, if any of you guys are familiar with Ayurvedic nutrition, one of the things that they say is that you know, food has different qualities. So either it's warm or it's cold, it's wet or it's dry. And when we eat food that is both wet and warm, like stews and soups and, you know, that type of thing, it really helps us emotionally. So it really helps the stomach. It's partly because, you know, it's cooked, which means that our stomach doesn't have to do too much work to break it down. So it gives our stomach a rest, which, you know, when we're going through, you know, emotional, tricky times, our stomach is already, doing a lot of work, you know, so we need to be good to our tummies right now. And it just makes you feel really, really good and lovely on the inside. So, you guys, if you have any questions, like, please do say. I am going to make myself available on Facebook for the next hour so that I can see any of your questions. And if you want to suggest to me how you would put together a dish like this using what you've got at home right now, if you just want to like check it out with me and say like, is this like a good combination, is this going to work, then I can let you know. See if you can use up some of those veggies. That's really nice. Really nice. The carrots are really soft now as well. Because I cut it small, you know, it's nice and soft. The butternut squash has started to fall apart, so that's actually adding to the to thicken it as well. Yeah, have you got a Facebook group people can join? Maybe. I'll get back to you on that. How crucial is the paprika? The paprika, so with all of this is like just a blueprint. So you can really mess around with that. So Brian, I suggest if you don't have paprika, then increase the other spices. You could also add a bit of turmeric to this as well. That would give it a lovely, more orangey colour. Then people can ask questions after the show. That's a very good idea. Okay, I'm on it, Robbie. Promise. Yes, so you can really play around with that. Brian, if there are any other spices that you've got at home, like let me know and I can tell you whether they're going to work together. So quite often a lot of this is just, how can I say it? Okay, so the way that I learned how these things go together was I started to see the patterns that were in recipes, and I started to think of, this is going to sound really silly, I started to think about how these guys are friends with each other. So cinnamon and ginger, they're friends with each other and they go together. And I saw these as, part of a set of flavours that you find in, say, Moroccan food. So that really helped me. But what you can also do is you can use the internet. So, if you're not sure if like some spices go together, then you can just Google it, and if you put in like recipes with ginger and cinnamon and you get a load up, then and you can see what are the other flavours that people have paired with them as well. So there's a lot of information out there. Okay, I'm going to wrap up now. But guys, please do ask me some questions later on. Let me know if you have any veggies that you don't know what to do with. Let me know if there are any specific recipes that you want me to teach. I will be back here at midday every day until this whole thing is over. So I'm here for the long haul, and yeah, just happy to help you and share my food knowledge, and hopefully make your day a bit brighter. So big love to you all and have a lovely day.